Hello everybody, welcome back to another Stacey West preview pod. My name is Jake, as you all know. We're here today with Tom, a Plymouth supporter, the very rare. We've managed to find one out of the woodwork. Hello Tom, mate, how you doing? How are you finding lockdown?
Hello mate, I'm all good. Enjoying it. It's been tough, obviously. I graduated from uni last June, and obviously getting out there and getting into work is difficult, but I've managed to keep a part-time job that I had prior to uni, and then obviously looking to get into stuff to do with my degree. I did a sports journalism degree, so just trying to get into that sort of area, but it's difficult at the moment, as you know, everyone kind of knows. But it's a challenge, but definitely we'll get there at some point. But the football's keeping me going, definitely.
Yeah, I can sort of concur with that. I graduated with a sports journalism degree a year before you did, and I've struggled to get into the industry. But we're not here to talk about journalism, although Gary might love it. We're here to talk about football and Plymouth Argyle, who are on a decent run at the minute, bar Tuesday night.
Yeah, Tuesday night was a little blip. The second half of the game wasn't good, but the first half, we matched Peterborough toe to toe. I felt we were in the game, and we switched off for the first minute of the second half, and you can't give Peterborough that sort of opportunity. But as you say, up until then, we were 9 unbeaten in the league. The only team we lost to in 2021 was Sheffield United in the FA Cup, and to be honest, they didn't particularly play great then as well. So we played good stuff, and we just hope that's just a little blip. Obviously, we've got a big opportunity against Lincoln to kind of bounce back, and I think prior to this season, Ryan Lowe had never lost 2 games in a row as Argyle manager. So it shows there's that bounce back ability within the coaching staff. So hopefully we can put that into full effect on Saturday. Fingers crossed.
Let's just talk about last year then, because obviously you said earlier you're used to winning. Plymouth are used to winning in recent years. How did you find last season, even though it got cut short a little bit early?
Last season was very good. It started off. There was a couple of question marks about, how long it took the players to adapt to the style of play that the manager and the coaching staff brought in. Once the players adopted it and the fans got on board, I think in League Two we're definitely a bit of a sleeping giant in the Football League, and the Green Army's underestimated by a lot of people around the country, and the fans really got behind the manager. We started playing some really good football. Obviously, we started off a little bit slow. I did a podcast with my mates about football, and they were just raking into me every week. Oh, Argyle 12th, Argyle 10th. Where's this promotion party you're talking about? But we picked up form. We actually, I think it was the 2 last games before the season got curtailed. We won 3-0 in both games, and those goals and obviously those points were so vital for the points per game method that was used to determine what happened. Because we finished 3rd, and I believe if the season had gone on, I reckon we'd have won it, and the staff think they'd have won it as well. So yeah, it's good. It was good to be back, and it's good to have the good feeling about the club, because there's been recent times where there was a bit of the hard times between the hierarchy at the club and the fans, but Ryan Lowe's really come in and brought everyone together. Simon Hallett, the chairman's done a really good job of that as well. So it feels good to be back and doing well, and not only competing in League One, but playing some good football as well. That's always nice to see.
And success ultimately brings interest from leagues higher above, as we found out, with Danny Cowley. Ryan Lowe was linked with a couple of jobs from what I can recall. The Bristol City job he seemed to be linked with. For some reason, the Bradford job I seem to see ran around. But how do you feel about that? The potential that Ryan Lowe could make a departure from Argyle.
Ryan Lowe mentioned in his recent, he's just signed a new contract, which is great for the club. I know that doesn't, in football that doesn't mean a lot, but sometimes. But he's signalled his intent to stay, and he said he's an aspiring manager, wants to go to the very top, and I think he can. But I think it's quite good to see your manager linked with other teams, because it actually shows we're doing something right and we're building something here. And if I'd be more concerned if teams weren't noticing how good a style of play he has and how good he is with the players. So I take it as a positive. he's got a contract here for another few years now. That's exciting, especially bearing in mind how we've been performing this season and last season. So I don't really read too much into it. I always see him. I always check the odds to see who the next manager is, and more often than not, he's up there. But he's a Plymouth Argyle manager as long as he's got the badge on his chest. So and he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he loves the club, and I think his family's come down here from up north, and he's really settled into it really well. So hopefully, long may that continue.
Yeah, obviously Mike Clapperton was linked with the Bristol City job as well. He's just been tied down to a new 4-year contract. But let's talk about your January window then. Obviously, we're a month out of it now, so you can assess how the players you brought in have done. Who did Argyle bring in, and how have they sort of settled into the squad?
Oh, you're testing me a little now. Not Niall Ennis was the one that I really quite liked because he was a signing we've been linked with a couple of times. We've got him from Wolves on a permanent deal. And he's been really exciting when he's come up front. He's played with Hardy and Jeffcott, and he offers something a little bit different. We kind of managed to shift off some players who weren't quite getting the game time, and Niall Canavan and Scott Wootton both left. They were both centre-backs who got promoted from League Two.
Yeah.
And then so we managed to get the players out who weren't getting the game time that maybe they deserved. Frank Nublet also left. He didn't quite hit the ground running, unfortunately, but he scored in his first game for us against QPR, which turned out to be the goal around, but it just never quite ran for him, unfortunately. But no, we shifted players who weren't playing, and we've got players like Niall Ennis in, and you've really tested me now. We definitely got Sam.
Some support.
we got Sam Woods in on loan from Crystal Palace as well, and we had an injury on Tuesday night in the centre back department, so it might give him a chance to have a run in the team. So we'll see how that gets on, really. But yeah, Ennis up front, he's really, really, lit it up when he's played. It's such a shame there's no fans in, because he scored in his home debut. He set up one and played a big part in another in our 2-2 draw away to Pompey. He scored. Admittedly, he missed from a yard out against Accrington, but he did score later on in the game, so I'll allow it. So we're playing good stuff, and it wasn't necessarily a transfer window where we needed to add things. And I think the manager was very vocal in the fact that he's not going to sign players for signing players' sake. And a lot of managers aren't big fans of the January window because it can unsettle your team. But we managed to remain settled and keep on a decent run apart from Tuesday. Adam Lewis was another signing we got on the left side just for some cover, because George Cooper, our left-sided player, got injured for the rest of the season, so which is a big shame. But we've managed to get some cover there. And again, to be honest, we've been on such a good run of form. We sign players; it's difficult to get a player in when your team's playing well. So it's just sort of biding your time, waiting, and of course for a player, it's taking that opportunity.
I seem to remember Ennis scored for Doncaster Rovers against Lincoln last season, which then turned out to be. So you'll be hoping he can do it again, but. Obviously, these two teams have met twice already this season. Both 2-0 wins, from what I can remember. Lincoln winning 2-0 in the league, and Plymouth taking us down 2-0 in the cup. Just talk about that win in the cup then, because obviously that's probably the one you want to talk about more than the other one. I thought that was a really good game of football. Lincoln came and probably had quite a lot of the play in terms of shots and things like that. But Plymouth had quality in the moments when they needed it. They won it, with a super strike from, is it Ben Reeves, a midfielder?
Yeah.
Absolute worldy strike. What was your thoughts on that game?
When I first got Lincoln in a tie, I thought it's a difficult opposition. Obviously, competing at the top of League One. We wanted to do well in the FA Cup, of course. I love the FA Cup, so it was. At first, I was like, "Oh, Lincoln, that could be easier teams than that." Yeah. But initially, I believe he made about 6 or 7 changes for that game, which it gave some rotation. But when I saw the team, I thought we've got a chance here. I think Brennan Johnson was on the bench for Lincoln.
Yeah.
I think that was the case, and certainly I think with the rotation they did, it just allowed us to not have the edge maybe, but we certainly, it was one of our better performances. And Ben Reeves' strike was unbelievable, and the game we played in the league was a bit unfortunate because we lost 2-0, but the penalty decision was a bit questionable. A bit questionable. We'll leave it at that. And then we had 3 players, 2 tested positive for COVID, and I think 1 or 2 tested positive for COVID, and then a third one had to be withdrawn from the squad because they had they live with them. So it was a bit unlucky in the league with the situation. But in the cup, certainly we played well. Good performance, but I mean in the league, and especially because Lincoln, I did do a little bit of research, but they their run of forms, they had a couple of draws, and so they want to get back onto winning ways, especially after slipping off the top of the table. But in goal, they've got Alex Palmer, who we had on loan last season, and I thought certainly when he went to League One this season, I tweeted this a couple of days ago. I was surprised because I thought he was championship ready. He's a really good goalkeeper. But if Lincoln get promoted this season, it's another promotion on the CV, and that can't harm at all.
Yeah. Obviously, that game at against Swindon that you're talking about there, the drawing at home. It's our home record is definitely worse than our away record. I'm sure you'll be aware of the fact that Lincoln have lost once on the road all season, which would be, quite a mean feat for Plymouth to go about. But talking about Plymouth, can they make the playoffs this year, do you think? We spoke a little bit off air, but if you can string a run together between now and the end of the season, there's no reason why, you can't be pushing them top 6 spots.
Yeah, 100%. We had it when we were last in our first season in League One. I think it was 2017-18 maybe, or 2016-17, one of those two, where we were bottom of the league at Christmas and we finished the league 1 place outside the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's all a form game, really. If you put a string of results together and the team grows with confidence, and especially at the moment, I know there's games most weeks. It doesn't give you a lot of time to kind of reflect on it, and in some ways that can be quite good when you're on form because you just want the next game to come. So I mean we're close if we can, as I say, if we can get a run of results together. Of course it does rely on other teams slipping a little bit as well. They've got games to hand. I know Accrington still have a couple of games to hand, but I think they're a really good side. I know we beat them recently, but the things they do are really good. They play really good football as well. But all it takes for teams who've got game in hand is to have a couple of injuries, a couple of suspensions, a bad game, and a bad game can turn into a couple, and then things can change in that top 6. We can push it, but I wouldn't be. Obviously, I'd love to get the playoffs, but I think, as I said, sure, fair. We've had a couple of seasons now where it's been all or nothing, really. We've either been fighting for promotion, promoted, or relegated. So it would be nice to have that season of consolidation in League One to kind of perform well, do well against some of the good teams like we have done. We beat Sunderland at their place in January. We did well in the FA Cup. I think it would be a successful season. Really holding our own in League One. And that's what we're doing, which is good to see because we're doing it with a good style of football as well.
I think that season that you referred to there was the Graham Carey masterclass season where he scored that wonderful goal away at Blackpool. Would that be right?
Yeah, Blackpool. He scored one at Blackburn as well. And I miss Graham Carey so much. I love all our players, but there's you always have that one player you just like. But Graham Carey for me was certainly when I was about, I think it's like 16, 17, 18, and I was just like, that guy, unbelievable signing.
Yeah.
And I think at his prime he could have gone to the Championship, but it wasn't to be for him. And I think he plays in Bulgaria for CSKA Sofia now. Played in Europa League as well. And we had Ruben Ramirez that year. He plays for a team in Portugal, and he's got a £50 million buyout clause in him now. So I know we let him go for free.
I'm just going to test your Lincoln knowledge there, then Tom.
No.
You said, I'm just wondering who you might think that the Lincoln Danger Men are going to be tomorrow afternoon.
I know for a fact, having watched a lot of the highlights. I watched the EFL on Quest. I think it is every Saturday. I know Brennan Johnson's a really good player.
Yeah.
Is he on loan? Am I right?
On loan from Forest.
From Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
Because he knows he gets on with. He knows our centre defensive midfielder Fauna. He's a really good player, and every time, more often than not on that show, he's pulled out good goals. So
Yeah.
I know, just because I've seen it, and you mentioned it as well, Apple signed a new contract this week. And Scully has.
Anthony Scully. Yeah.
Anthony Scully. I don't know loads about him. In all truth, I just happened to see it this week. I know he got Callum Mawson on loan out, but he's been injured for the lot of the season, unfortunately. But he was really good in League Two last season.
Yeah.
And he was really good on my Football Manager save that I've got going. So I hope he comes back. And as I mentioned earlier, Alex Palmer in goal. I know he's had a couple of. I know he had a little slip up against Swindon. I think I saw in the highlights.
And Accrington.
And Accrington. But I think reflexes wise, and he's certainly one of the best goalkeepers I've seen at Home Park.
Yeah.
And he's vocal as well, which is an underestimated character in a goalkeeper because he really commands the back four.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm expecting a good challenge. I'm expecting a really good game of football. Hopefully the weather's like it is today because it's lovely today, and it it will just mean a nice game of football. We've got a really good pitch here at Home Park. The weather here has not been the weather's not been terrible like it has been in other places of the country. So we've got a really nice surface. As I say, it's a shame there's no crowd there, obviously, but expecting a really good game of football. Again, two sides who like to play football, two young managers who, as we touched on earlier, they've attracted interest from higher up the football hierarchy. We can kind of see where that will all go in the future. But for now, just two great sides with great players. Brennan Johnson versus Danny Mayer will be a nice little battle there as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes.
Yeah, I think what you touched on with Alex Palmer, I think he wins you more points this season than he gives away.
Yes,
I think that would
exactly.
be fair to say.
And I think any goalkeeper is bound to criticism. They're always going to. That's the thing with a goalkeeper. You're top of the world one day, and then you can make a slight error, and it's gonna go to a goal. Our goalkeeper, Michael Cooper, he was understudy to Alex Palmer last season. And he's a really good goalkeeper. I actually went to school with him. I played in the school football team with him, so that's my only claim to fame. But and when he's famous, I'll put up the picture of us in the school team together. But he came under some criticism this season, which was I was just like, he's 20 years old and he's in League One. This happens. This is part and parcel of being, a goalkeeper. You're going to make an error every now and again. But even the best goalkeepers make errors. But Alex Palmer, as you're right, he wins you more points than you lose.
Yeah.
He's one of the better goalkeepers in League One. I thought he could have gone lower Championship. I thought he was that good. But I'm looking forward to seeing him back at Home Park tomorrow on the iFollow, of course.
Well, I think that it's all sort of lined up if West Brom get relegated for Palmer to go and take Sam Johnson's place, because you'd think they'd probably sell him to a Premier League team. But that's not a Plymouth or Lincoln matter at the minute. Obviously, then the game tomorrow, how do you think it's going to go, and a score prediction from yourself?
There's more often than not, there's goals involved with Argyle, and we haven't scored. I know I've just contradicted some of that, but we haven't scored in the last couple of games, so we need to bounce back from that. Peterborough on Tuesday was second half wasn't great, but the first half I thought we matched them, and actually I thought we were either with them or slightly better team in the first half. So that being said, we need to bounce back. Lincoln need to bounce back, to get to the top of the table as well, depending on results at Peterborough. But I think I'm confident in every game we go into at the moment. I'm fortunate in midweek, and we've just come off a 9-match unbeaten run, and we played some good sides in that run as well. Sunderland away, for example, Accrington away. So Lincoln have got a very good away record, but we're one of the best teams in the league at home. So I'm gonna go. It can't be 2-0 3 times in a row. It'll be 2-1. It'll be 2-1, and your man Brennan Johnson will score.
What consolation?
A late consolation. I couldn't tell you who'd score for us, because I'm not quite sure on our lineup will be. We might change it up a couple of times, but hopefully Jeff gets back on the score sheet. That'd be really good for him.
Well, I mean, a lot of Lincoln fans probably disagree with what you just said, but that's the beautiful thing about football. It's
that's the beautiful thing of
it's
football,
a game
isn't
of opinions. And anyway, Tom, thank you very much for coming on. Where can Lincoln fans, get your thoughts and where what you think about the game as it goes ahead?
So all of my stuff I put on my Twitter. It's at @th_SJFAL. I'm subject to change that name actually fairly soon. I do football match reports for a website called the Football Fans View. So all my reports, previews, and whatever will be on there. And yeah, that's sort of what I kind of do really.
Brilliant.
That's all about me really.
Well, brilliant. Thanks for coming on again, Tom. Thank you everybody else for watching the Stacey West Preview Pod, and we'll be back with another episode next week.